Okay, and the next one I'll be doing will be this time sound. So I'm going to quickly, I don't need to play it through again because it's already been played through. So we're just going to listen to what the actual screen noise is come for us. Okay, so straight away, first two noises we can hear are the wind and the sounds of the sea, or ocean, as you will. What this tells us, that from hearing the ocean noises, it tells us it's out, really on the out of nowhere. We can't really, from looking at the mist on scene, there's not really a big beach, it just looks like a bunch of fields. So the actual ocean noises tells us this is pretty much in the middle of nowhere, and it's surrounded by a sea. What the wind tells us is there's not really much there. There's no buildings or anything. Usually wind will be played to tell the audience that it's quite an empty area, and it's also quite creepy, which looking at the mist on scene again, it's quite dark, so it fits in well and connects to the sound, the dark scenery, and the wind blowing makes it sound like quite a creepy, isolated area. And okay, let's play a bit more. Okay, and now, if you heard it, you should have. While it was playing, you could hear this high-pitched sound. It started off quite low, and it worked its way out. At this point, with the camera moving forward, it sounds like it's building up tension. It's going to a massive release. The high noise, as if once it finally reaches peak, something big is going to happen, or we're going to be revealed something that will help us along with the storyline. So we'll play it along and see what happens. And it cuts, fades out, stops straight away when it gets to these two people. The high tension noise could be telling us here that these two characters are something big to do with the story. As we looked at missing on scene, person was dead, these two are the killers. Therefore the high reaching screech noise tries to almost alert the audience in a way, and informs us that something big has happened, or is going to happen, which in this case it did happen, where they butchered that other guy, or at least knocked him unconscious. Pat more, listen to the sound. You could hear the radio going on through, well, the music he was listening to, but also the cab radio, where they'd have to contact him to let him know where his passengers are. Excuse me. The fact that it's a radio on where it's playing music shows this was pretty much an ordinary day for this person. He didn't have any bad thoughts going in his head. He was just getting on with his daily job, and these people have came along and knocked him unconscious or killed him. So the fact that we can hear it kind of makes the person seem normal, because pretty much everyone listens to the radio. So the fact he's listening to it makes him feel normal, which makes us feel more connected to him, as we can relate to him more. You know, you're going on along your normal day, and out of the blue, although you can't connect to this part, you get attacked by two women, or indeed anyone. So the fact the radio is playing tells us that it's a normal day for him. Going back though to the part where the high reach noise was coming from. Ahead. Okay, so that high-pitched noise that was just coming through the stream, it tells us, well, first of all, it's non-diegetic, as the characters within it can't actually hear it. It was done in post-production. It was added in separately. It's trying to build more emphasis on the point that I mentioned earlier, but the fact that it was non-diegetic and not a natural, normal diegetic sound adds more effect to it and makes us seem more, not as much intrigued, but curious to what's going to happen next and how it is shown to us. So we're going to skip forward a bit. Let's miss that. Two people walking. Okay, so with the old person in the cab, my last point, it was diegetic sound. You could hear him deeply breathing. This tells us, as the audience, that he's deeply hurt and needs assistance quite quickly. Otherwise, well, you won't be breathing that deeply. So he's obviously struggling to get his breath back from the assault. Connections we've made, they've assaulted him, relationships, well, not a very good one between them, as that he's been physically hurt, which is why he's breathing so deeply. And that is basically all the sound. There's not much to it other than the diegetic footsteps we can hear, which tells us they're leaving the area, and the high-pitched noise at the start, which was creating a tension point to let us know something big was coming. Okay, so the final element to analyse is editing. Pretty much, there's not much. From already watching it, we know there's not a lot. It's quite slow paced, and there's no actual conflict going on at that point. The action would have happened, obviously, when the person was killed. During that time, it would have been quite quick paced, there had been lots of cuts, make it seem more interesting, and make us also feel connected to one of them, because whoever was the innocent person to win. However, it's after the conflict, and the editing's pretty slow. As you can see here, it's lasting quite a lot of time before a cut. Still going, still going, still going, still going, and then cut. Takes another time, and cut again. So just from seeing those shots, it's slow-paced editing. The simple facts between that, it wants to show the audience that there's not much conflict left. Everything's happened. Now we just have the people walking away. From looking at it, in a way, usually slow editing will cut. Will want the audience to seem quite calm as there's nothing going on. However, in a way, it clashes because we can see blood spattered over the characters and over the cab driver's face, car, everything. So there has to have been a definite conflict. Because when you see blood, you expect the high-paced action cut. In this case, it's not going to happen. The director has opted against it, and we just see these shots really, where they're slow-paced, it's trying to keep the audience calm. Maybe so we anticipate a big scene later on where the editing will be quite fast-paced, but as it stands, it's pretty slow. Okay, next up, cinematography. Okay, so first of all, we'll play the shot, and I'm actually going to talk over the action, what's going on now. Keep things going. We start off with an establishing shot, telling us well, basically, it's also kind of a tracking shot as it's going forward. It's letting us know the establishing shot that in the open, not much around. It's just as we can see now, it's going forward. We've got the car and the two people. We'll quickly pause the game. You have some trees in the background. I don't know if you'll be able to see my mouse through the Fraps recording, but there's a house, as you can see, in the background to the left side, some trees circling and some fields. Tells us this is quite farmland. If it is in England, which it doesn't look like it, it's up in the north, maybe northeast, northwest. Otherwise, it looks like it's in another country. Due to the fact in England, it's quite well built up, there's lots of cities everywhere. This looks too open, it's too wide, not enough civilization for it to be a big country. So we learn that from the have a cut here to the women who are walking. We have a two-shot. This tells the audience that pretty much they are the two characters to keep an eye on in this plot of the show or film, and to let us know they've been involved in something, which is the assault of the person. However, we don't know that as of yet, but we will quite soon. So they're walking. We have a cut here. Focus has been pulled away from the two characters walking away in the distance. And now we just have the shot of the actual blood splattered on it. It's a close-up, you could say. However, you could argue it's other types. However, I'm going to stick with close-up. Close-up's used here pretty much just to show the blood and let the audience make the connection that they have assaulted him. Genre, we learn from the close-ups in the blood, it's going to be an action thing as there's been an assault. And questions the audience are asking at this recent point would most likely be, well, did they do it? Which most of them probably would have realised or had a massive assumption the fact they're walking away from the scene. They did have something to do with it. And also, most importantly, why they did it. Back a bit. Here we have a close-up. You could see the person's left eye, or in his case it would be his right eye, twitching. His right eye, from where I'm looking, Let me just circle it. This part here, it's quite swollen, so you can see the assault was pretty brutal. It wasn't done just by a weapon. It looks like it was fists as well, so he was assaulted pretty badly. The close-up shows a little cut wound just under his eyelid where he was assaulted, and also the blood run down his nose. Close-up pretty much shows how bad it was. And the final one, we have close-up of the knife, how it's cut to pretty sheen. You have to take there so it doesn't explain that. But there, the knife, the most important part, which lets the audience know, using close-up, we now pretty much 99% are certain that they are the murderers of, or assaulters in this case. The close-up was used pretty well here, because without seeing that knife we wouldn't have been certain that they hurt him. However, by seeing that, and also through their facial expressions using close-ups, we know for a certainty they are the ones that hurt him and put him in this state. Relationships from this, well, we've pretty much worked out the two girls working together are connected in a way, and they had a bad relationship obviously with the driver. Setting from using the establishing shot, we know it's out in the wild. And connections that we have been able to make regarding the characters, well, they murdered the person, as we saw from the blood on the Carrie's window, and also her hand and, well, knife in this shot right here. And that is the end of cinematography.